Welcome back to That Rugby Podcast. You are joined by myself and Hughesy yet again for another week of footy chat.
Yep, the penultimate week of the regular season of the Super Rugby 2023 season. Some of the chess pieces have fallen. Some of them have ascended. Some of them have earned useless titles. But we're 1 week away from finals footy.
Yeah, I think it was Rugby Australia posted the fact that the Chiefs had won the minor premiership, and I was like, that's just not a thing in New Zealand. Like, even if there's no such thing as a minor premiership, it's like you either win it or you don't. So, I get it in rugby league, and I know they try and do it in the A League and stuff, but in the end, it's you take home the big prize, or you don't take home anything at all. So, Chiefs have earned at least a home final. The possibility of that. But, yeah, I guess for them, nothing achieved unless they win it all from here, I would say. Through the week, though, the Highlanders broke the Reds' hearts with a last-minute absolute heartbreaker, kept their season alive and put the Reds on very thin ice now as they head to Fiji, so we'll discuss that later. The Rebels kept their hopes alive as they crushed the Force, which something I didn't probably see coming, the size of the win. The Jura managed to hold off Moana and beat them by a point. Yeah, I mean, the Fijians, especially when you play in Fiji, it's so hard, and you'd think that it would be a runaway for the Jura, but, you know, Moana Pacific...
Well, I've learned something important this week, Luke. I've actually learned something important, and this actually is beneficial to us and our theories, right? So the Dura played Moana Pacifica. They didn't play him in Suva. They didn't play them in Fortress Suva. They played them in Lautoka. I learned this from a Fijian friend I play touch footy with on Sundays, and that is where they played the Blues earlier this season. So it wasn't in Fortress Suva where they lost. So the Spirits weren't confused. It wasn't anything like that. They just weren't in the Fortress. They weren't in the place where they don't lose. They were in a different location. And we've seen, like, you know, the Blues took the win. Moana Pacifica came within 1 point. So clearly this location is the opposite of Fortress Suva. This is like a cursed location for the Dura. So
you know, all their games next year you think will be out of Suva?
Yeah, they just got to be like, look, okay, Suva from now on. We just, we at least win 50% of the games.
Totally. And then the Crusaders beat your Tars in
heavily understrength Waratahs with arguably the two starting centers, two of their best players, and Michael Hooper, the talismanic former captain. You know, it's a tough ask for anyone, for any team, let alone a team missing your two starting centers against a team like the Crusaders.
Totally.
But even still, I will say, and this is something I noticed. And I'm sure we'll come on to this with the Brumbies and the Chiefs, but also the Highlanders and the Reds it's worth talking about as well. I think the difference between Australian Super Rugby teams and New Zealand Super Rugby teams at the moment isn't attack. I think both squads have got some good attacking patterns. And I think what the difference, though, is defense from the New Zealand sides is just a notch above, like at least a notch above. Like the Brumbies were very creative in their attack against the Chiefs in that game, but it was just a wall every time. There was almost no opportunity. Even Corey Toole, who can make magic happen out of almost nothing, was held relatively in check for that game. In Crusaders and Waratahs, the opening 20-30 minutes of the game, the Waratahs had a majority of possession, but just couldn't crack the Crusaders line except for one Jake Gordon try, and I think that was even with a man down on the Crusaders. But after that, the defense in the Waratahs just was out of all sorts, especially once they lost Max Jorgensen as well. Once he went down to, I believe it was a knee injury, and they had to put Harry Wilson in there, the defense, it shows you also the importance of Jorgensen to that team, of his role in fullback, that he's able to help the defense out so much. So, yeah, I think the difference in the moment between the two conferences is defense rather than attack. And it's not that the New Zealand rugby teams can't attack. It's not the Australian rugby teams can't attack. Both are very, very good in attack and very creative in attack. It's just the Australian defense is just so poor that it's amplifying the New Zealand rugby's attack, whereas the New Zealand rugby's defense is just so good, it's suffocating the attack. We see it in, the Blues and Crusaders game as well. Like, think about the tremendous defensive efforts in that game as well. So I think that's what the difference is at the moment, which is, so unusual. Usually you think it's the attack that is the difference. New Zealand be a bit more creative and a bit more flair in the attack. But I think Australian rugby has stepped it up in that sphere, perhaps to the detriment, though, of defence.
It's an interesting take, and I'd say you've probably got a couple of coaches at the moment in coaching seats that are attack focused. I'd say Coleman has a attack mind, and same with Larkin when you look at the Brumbies. So I wouldn't go against your saying there. I think the attack of the Wallabies is up there with the best in the world, and it flows down to the Super Rugby sides. But yeah, that defense wins championships, as they say. Yep. So that'll be one to work on, and then. To the Canes, we worked out, obviously, hate the rain, can't play in the rain, got beaten by Mark Talia and the Blues in the rain, so as long as it doesn't rain, we might be all right. And the Chiefs take home the minor premiership. So, as we go into the last game of the season, spots are up for grabs. Only 3 teams have solidified their spot on the table. Chiefs, number 1, can't be moved, can't be dethroned. Waratahs, number 6, can't go up, can't go down. Woo! 6, made the playoffs. Were you 6 last year as well? 6 last year? 7th.
We might have been, actually. 6th or 7th. Let's have a look. Let me do a quick...
No, you would have been 6, because I think the Crusaders and Blues were 1 and 2, and then you played the Chiefs, who were 3.
Yeah.
So I think you were 6.
I think, hey, look, consistency,
So, yeah, those teams and then Moana Pacifica, obviously, at the bottom, can't move either. Everyone else has an opportunity to move. So, the Crusaders currently sit on 2nd and 47 points. Mm-hmm. And they play the Hurricanes. I
was just looking at the standings, and it could very well be almost a mirror this year, except swap the Chiefs and the Blues around, right? So, the standings at the moment in 2023, right? Chiefs, Crusaders, Blues, Brumbies, Hurricanes, Waratahs, Reds, Highlanders, the top 8. Last year, it was Blues, Crusaders, Chiefs, and then from then on, it's exactly the same. Brumbies, Hurricanes, Waratahs, Reds, Highlanders.
I was about to say, we finished 5th, and the Brumbies finished 4th. And Tarzan and the Reds and the Highlanders. So, yes, it could be very similar looking table to last year. So, the Crusaders in 2nd really just need to pick up 1 point, and they will... finish 2nd on the table above the Blues. The Canes, who are 5th at the moment, playing the Crusaders, realistically need a 5-point bonus point or at least a 4 to take any chance of moving up any further. Again, as a Canes fan, probably not going to happen. Blues on 42, 3rd. They play the Highlanders. So, again, a good chance if the Crusaders do slip up for the Blues to step up there. The Brumbies play the Rebels. At home. And again, if the Blues were to slip up against the Highlanders, then it's a good opportunity for the Brumbies to jump up. So a lot to play for I guess, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Then you get your Tars at 6, will not move. Then we finish into our flow-on effect, where we've got the Reds, who are actually on 24, I believe. Are they on 24?
Let me look here. Reds are on 24, yes.
Yes. Then the Highlanders are on
23.
Force on 22.
Yeah.
And then the Judah and the Rebels are on 21. So.
Correct.
Big game, Reds versus the Judah in Fiji. If the Judah win that, even if the Reds pick up a bonus point, the Judah will go ahead because the tiebreaker is actually on most wins. So the first tiebreaker is who's had the more wins, which would give the Judah. The Highlanders then play the Blues, in which is obviously a must-win game for them. Force play the Chiefs, where we've said the whole season it may come down to if the Chiefs play a full star-studded team. And I would imagine they did rest some players last week against the Brumbies. It wouldn't surprise me if they rest like the other contingent who didn't rest against the Brumbies. So I see the Force having a very good chance at home where they haven't lost this season. And then the Rebels travel to the Brumbies away, and a win against the Brumbies may push them in there. So it's all.
It depends. Again, it depends on other results. But look, I think they have to. So what they need to do. So the Dura need to win, but not get a bonus point win, and the Rebels need to win, but with a bonus point, because they will have this. They will have one less win than the Dura. Even though they'd be on the same points as the Dura would go in over them. But if they get a bonus point, they'll be 1 point ahead of them. and that's their only way. And I think, unless the Highlanders and the Force lose as well.
Yeah, so they could.
Which is a reasonable chance of happening as well. That's a reasonable chance.
If the Rebels, if I'm the Rebels this weekend, I'm going in thinking if we win, we're in.
Yeah.
Again, it could not happen. They need a lot of things to happen, but if you mentally get that into your mind, they win, they're in. I'd be saying the same if I'm the Force and the Highlanders. Like if we win, those other two teams aren't winning. So it's an interesting time of year. We said this could happen where we've got all these teams bunched up. It did happen. Would you now looking at the table, would you change your prediction you made from last time?
Well, I don't even remember what I said last time. I think I said the Dura was going to be one of the teams, right? And
the Reds, I think.
The Reds.
Yeah, that's what you said.
No, I think that'll be the same because I think even if the Reds lose, they're still in as long as the Highlanders don't win.
As long as the Highlanders, Force, and Rebels don't win.
Yeah. Highlanders, Force, and which I think that's all very. That's the odds-on way for it to fall if you look at it because the Highlanders are going to the Blues, right?
Yeah.
So you'd say Blues are odds-on favorite there. The Force are going home to the Chiefs. Now that one is the big if, and that's depending again on if Chiefs refs players and if the Perth curse is real or not. And then the Rebels will be playing the Brumbies away, and the Brumbies have got a lot to play for this week, right? Because they could possibly secure themselves up to third, which would be more favourable finals matchup for them against the Waratahs than having the Hurricanes come to town.
Yeah, so
they've got a lot to play for the Brumbies this week.
Yeah, so the Brumbies and the Blues both have lots to play for, whereas the Chiefs don't. So it realistically gives the Force a best chance to move above either the Reds or the Judah, whatever happens in that game. So I went with the Judah and the Force. You went with the Judah and the Reds. There's a very good chance that one of us is going to be right, I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a very good chance.
However, I hope Fiji's in the finals. That's the main thing I want out of this is I would love my ideal world here. Look, my ideal world is the Dura and the Force get in, and the Reds and Highlanders don't get in. Even though I predicted the Reds, I'd love to see the Force in there. I think that would be great. I think after being kicked out of the competition to make it to the finals would be absolutely amazing. And then the Dura in their second year in the competition to make it as well would be incredible. And really validate a lot of the fandom and the faith that's been put into. I mean, I think we could all say that even if the Dura don't make the finals, that they're a success, that they're immensely popular, that they are competitive against the other teams of the competition, and they've got a bright future ahead of them. The successful older sibling to the younger screw up of Moana Pacifica.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It is. It's showing what we've been missing for so long, and they've got a very good chance. Is it in Suva? Is it in Suva?
I believe it is. I believe it is
Fiji,
in.
But if it's in Suva,
I believe it's in Fortress Suva. Let me have a look. I've got a Google link here. Fiji Village. Let's see. It is in Suva. It's in Suva. Chalk it up. Chalk it up.
All done. Fiji are into the finals.
Yeah.
They've done it. We can crown them. And look at that. Then they'll squeeze into the finals. All of a sudden, they're eighth. They play the Chiefs first up, and you know what they do? They do the unthinkable when they beat the Chiefs.
And the Chiefs go into that game. Chiefs go into that game all cocky. Damien McKenzie looking like Matt Smith out of House of the Dragon, smiling his cheeky wee smile, and then all of a sudden they're run over by what's that star's name? Is it Yoso Murphy or something like that? I can't remember his name.
Asifa Mussy. Yeah. He's been unreal, hasn't he? He's been the Hibosi of last year. Mussy.
I mean, and who would have thought, without Vinyaya Hibosi in the team, their best player from last year, that they're arguably playing even better?
Not even arguably. I'd say they're definitely playing better.
I mean, and just far I feel like the Chiefs would even be sweating having to play them first up. Not even if they think that I think they're going to that confident they could win, but just the physical toll it's going to take on you to have to play them. Like, I get bruised just watching the games.
Totally. And yeah, it's yeah. I don't think you'd be wanting to play anyone,
No.
especially not Fiji in that first round. So I guess say our predictions were to go as planned. Mine would see the Force finish 7th and the Judah finish 8th. Yours would see
Mine is the Dura finish 7th and the Reds finish 8th.
8th. So you would have the Chiefs versus the Reds. I'd have the Chiefs versus the Judah. Crusaders versus the Force for me. Crusaders versus the Judah. Blues potentially versus the Tars. Brumbies versus Canes. An interesting finals matchup as well. I would be sitting there saying that you're probably hoping for a Brumbies bonus point win somehow to put them above the Blues so that you could go there to Canberra, because I don't mind where the Canes have finished right at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of Hurricanes fans would be licking their chops about that. I mean, you think you'd be. I'm sure you could tell me you're hoping for a win this week, even if it's not a Brumbies loss with no bonus point in the Brumbies loss, and then you're 4th. You've got the same number of wins but a better point differential, and then you get to host them.
Yeah, I would love that. That would be a game changer, I would say.
I feel like you're feeling pretty good about your chances either way, but you'd just be even more confident if you're hosting it.
Yeah, totally. I think there's nervousness around what happened last year, because obviously we went there last year and lost. So there's that nervousness that this happened last year. Will it repeat?
I still can't. I'm still salty about the Brumbies loss to the Blues last year. That rankles in my mind. That refereeing.
Good fun. God, we love rugby. Shall we touch base on the URC, my friend? The Irish sick one off, go into South Africa. I say the Irish, but it's part of the Irish. Munster, not even their best team, go in and beat the best South African team in the Stormers in their homeland to take the URC championship. I would say a bit of a shock, at least to say the least. I think the South Africans will be a little bit disappointed. I don't think it takes the shine off their chances in the Rugby World Cup coming up later, because half their team plays in Japan / in other competitions, but it does take a bit of the shine off what they were building there in the Stormers.
Perhaps they're missing Super Rugby right now, you know?
But they didn't win much of that either, so it's just not business as usual as well, we could say, for...
Yeah, but at least you're losing to other Southern Hemisphere teams. You're not losing to the colonizers, you know?
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. So, yeah, I mean, it makes the URC, I guess, a bit interesting with the fact that another team's won it this year, the competition, how close it can be, how you can't take a step wrong. To my mind, and I'll pitch this to you, but I'd imagine you're in the same boat as me. URC, probably the premier club competition in the world, you'd say?
Yeah.
Which hurts. It does hurt to say, obviously, from yourself and myself, because we've been Super Rugby fans obviously all our lives, and there was a time that we were the premier competition, and the loss of South Africa, I think, hasn't gone unnoticed, that we have taken a mighty step back. As much as New Zealand Rugby would like to think they were the smart ones in that one, I still think we'll take a loss for that. Shall we move on to my new rugby law?
Go for it.
Go for it. This was a tough one. I've gone on all these laws, trying to either not take away a law, but make it more understandable to the game, to fans, to the casuals. Try and open up our sport to everybody, basically. So this week, I've targeted one specific, I guess, area of the game, and I've seen how Rugby League do it, and I've decided, you know what, I like that. Let's do this. I'm taking away the deliberate knockdown. Now, I'm not saying you can just deliberately slap the ball down, like you can't hit it down, but any attempt for an intercept, any handout, as long as the ball doesn't go straight down, it's play on. So what I'm just really trying to do is limit a direct knockdown, but allow the opportunity for a defender to make a play. And I think this would take out 90% of these. Like, of these penalties that we currently have where it's a questionable decision. It has to be, the wording I would use is definitive and a definitive attempt to knock the ball down rather than
I think you'd have to word it something like it will be a penalty if a player deliberately attempts to interfere with the pass of the ball with no consideration for attempting to gain possession of the ball. Something like that, where it's really clear that they're not trying to gain possession at all. And you could even extend it a little bit to ones where there was no thought to intercepting the ball and no reasonable chance to intercept the ball, because you could have like your hand out like this and say, oh yeah, I was attempting to go for it, when it just touches your finger, and it's like you were never going to get that, but you knew if you put a finger on the ball it would interfere with it. So I think it has to be, look, it has to be I think I definitely agree with you on this one, and I think it slides the scale down. We just need to make sure it doesn't slide it too far down, where any kind of hand on the ball is just a knock on. Even then, I'm not totally opposed to that either, but I think we just need to restrain it a little bit. I think we can find that good balance where if you put a hand on the ball and there's absolutely no attempt to catch the ball and you could never reasonably have caught it, then that's a yellow card there. Or even like, if it's a deliberate knockdown, like if you just attempted to knock it down, that's a yellow card. If you're just trying to get a hand on it, it's a penalty, because there's a little bit of leeway there. Like, look, maybe it's a prop forward going for it and they're not known for their brains and just I'm speaking as a former prop forward, and just not thinking in the moment, and you just go for the ball, and it's like, look, mate, you're a prop, you were never reasonably going to get that. So I do like that. I do like the rule change. I think it's something we talked about on the show before as something that needs looking at, and I think World Rugby even recognises that needs looking at. So I think of all your new rules, this is the most likely one to come into effect.
Yeah, and I was this close to coming on this podcast and saying, you know what, just take it completely away. So you can deliberately knock the ball down when going for a pass to do anything to stop a try type thing like that. But what I don't like about that is that shows no defensive skill to stop a try. Yeah. Going for an actual intercept is you're making a decision, and if it doesn't come off, like say you completely miss the ball, chances are they're scoring at the other end. Deliberately knocking the ball down, you can go out and stick a hand out and you're not making a defensive decision. As we see in league, all they're trying to do is get a hand on the ball just to stop it from going by. I didn't like the thought of that in rugby union. I feel like you've got to be able to show you've got some defensive skill to stop their attacking skill, rather than just showing you can knock a ball down and ruin a play on there. I think it takes away from the attacking game if we just left the rule for free. But I do think, we need to. The highlight of this was the Australia-England series where I can't remember who the Aussie player was that got Simbin for it, but then Parisi, and then Marcus Smith followed up, and it was like both of them were clearly not deliberate knockdowns. Why are we sending these guys off? So that was a big one for me to kind of go, look, I think there definitely is room for this in the sport, quite clearly. On to our next topic, the Barbarians versus the World XV, 48-42 to the Barbarians. But the biggest news of all,
Eddie Jones.
Samu Karevi hopping off with a hammy pull after 19 minutes. Does that make you a little bit nervous, my friend?
Nah, not at all. Nah.
He has been told that he will be all right for the Rugby Championship, so I'm just trying to stir the pot for all those Wallaby fans out there.
No. He's right, mate.
Your best players.
He'd be there. It would take a lot to stop him. He's going to be there. He's 29 years young. He's got lots of rugby left in him. He'll be right.
Mate, I'm 29 years young. I can tell you after a hard-fought rugby game on the weekend that it doesn't get any easier, bud.
Yeah, I know, but he's built a little bit different than you.
What are you trying to say? I reckon if Samu Karevi ran it straight at me...
I mean, he's 1.86 metres and 108 kilos.
I am 1.74 metres and 92 kilos. So
yeah, that's a bit of a difference.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a difference,
Yeah, he'd be scared of me. We all know it.
Yeah.
You know what? Okay, here's the deal. Okay, he gets one run it straight at me. I get one spiral bomb at him, and we'll see if he can take that. Then he wins. If I can tackle him, then I win. All right. That's all I'm saying. Try and catch one of my spiral bombs. Somebody could every. Yeah, I like the idea of this. I don't think it was as many Aussies and even a couple of Kiwis playing in it. I don't think it was that well executed with the marketing campaign and everything like that yet again. When the biggest news was Israel Folau's playing and they're going to put a rainbow plane up around the grounds. I don't know if that was what they were looking to get out of this.
Yeah. It seemed like the people at the ground had a good time. Alan Wynne-Jones retired, and that got a lot of attention. And it seemed like it was a good game, with a comeback win from Eddie Jones's side, which is what I like to hear. And beating Steve Hansen, I like to hear that as well. So it's it is. Yeah, it's a fun idea. It's a shame that so many of these events happen in the Northern Hemisphere and we're here in the Southern Hemisphere. It'd be nice to see some more of that down here.
Definitely, yeah. Well, I imagine because the Barbarians is a UK started thing, but
yeah.
They just
I know, but it's nice to see similar sort of things down here.
Definitely like a Pacifica Barbarians or something like that they put together. That'd be cool. Just wanted to quickly touch on this topic, 2 topics, and then we'll finish off on the big topic. John Afoa, 12 years out of Super Rugby.
Yeah,
made
crazy.
his return for the Crusaders as they're down on props. Didn't look out of place as well. It's 39 years old, like we're talking about Karuvi 29, 39 years old to be able to go out there and play Super Rugby is just an incredible achievement.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's an amazing work. And in the build up to the Waratahs game, I was hearing all the commentators that the coverage was New Zealand based for that one, obviously, since it was in Christchurch, and just you're hearing all the stories about him and the what it's taken for, all that time out of Super Rugby, and now he's back, when called upon, is fantastic, and good work to him. And you love to see it. There's nothing bad about this story.
Totally. And a great little tip off of this was he's come out and said he gave away his boots at the end of his last game in France. So when he got home, he didn't have any boots. Went to Rebel Sport. They didn't have his size, so he had to call Dan Carter, Mr. Adidas himself, and go, "Can you get a pair of boots sent to me?" And he did. So that's quite a cool little story to go along with it. And your boy Dave Rennie, former Wallabies coach, has found himself a job. Congratulations to him at the Kobe Steelers in Japan. We wish him the best because obviously, business decisions were made and these things have to happen. But we do wish him the best there. Now, to finish, let's get into this discussion because you've got the Ghetto Law. I'm starting the Fainga'anuku Law. Now, why have we started that? He is potentially signed with Toulon, one of them, in France, and will be leaving after this World Cup. Now, he's 23 years of age, and I said this is it takes one. We saw it with Charles Piutau, and everyone kind of went, "Oh, what do we do?" No one really knew what to do. Now we've got an electric winger who's in a mighty fine form, would more than likely make the All Blacks this year, who's decided to take the big payday. And I'm not holding it against them. I definitely don't want to hold it against them. And the reason I don't want to hold it against them is wing is probably one of our most coveted positions. Wingers' careers for the All Blacks don't last long, so you've got to make that money when you get the chance. Make that bank, get that bank, son. But it does bring up the question to, I guess, what is New Zealand Rugby going to do to counter this? Like, you've seen this in Wallabies' case. Now the New Zealand Rugby look to be facing it. What do they do? I don't know, because I sit there and I watch and I can't. If the Wallabies leave the Ghetto Law at 3 and don't take Will Skelton after rewatching the Champions Cup game, I just think it's a massive mistake. I can't see them not trying to get 5. I can't see them not trying to say, let's open it up to 5 and have 5 players for the Rugby World. That is it. We're into our final week of Super Rugby. Make sure you stay tuned because we will have the Super Rugby Awards. We did them last year. We'll do them again this year. The Rugby Championship's only 40 days away now, so we are getting close to Bledisloe, which we'll be doing some cool things. So make sure you stay tuned for that. For now, thank you for joining us here at the Sports Booth on That Rugby Podcast. I've been Luke. That's been Hughesy. We will catch you guys next time. Goodbye.